Hello there, welcome to episode 94 of Never Mind the Bullens. It's your bite-sized Everton podcast and vodcast. I'm Mike Pieces. I hope you had an enjoyable international break. For Evertonians, it's the only respite we get from losing games. And we hopefully picked up where we left off before the international break with the FA Cup quarter-final defeat at Palace by seamlessly carrying on with West Ham and with Burnley. So, I mean, this is very much a sort of claret in away days blues kind of vibe because I went to Turf Moor last night, and we'll get to that in a minute, and obviously watched the game at the London Stadium on Sunday from the relative comfort of my armchair, and there were some positives in both performances. But unfortunately, we haven't got anything to show for it. We've lost narrowly on both occasions. I think any of us watching the game on Sunday would have gone, all right, there's things to take out of that, and the fans were positive at the end. They got a round of applause because the effort was there, and we played some decent stuff at times. We're thinking, okay, if we can carry that performance from West Ham to Burnley, we've got a chance. And we did have a chance last night. And we blew it. No two ways about it. The West Ham game, West Ham are a good team. David Moyes has gotten very well organised, as you would expect. We know what he's like and how well drilled he makes sure his teams are. They set up with basically 10 men behind the ball and just knew that they would be able to hit us on the counter. And, ultimately, what's cost us there, having got ourselves back into the game after going a goal behind, that goal from Mason Holgate, we'll take the deflection, fine, whatever. Is then we've then got the momentum and look like there's some semblance of belief within us. And within 5 minutes, Alex Iwobi makes a mistake, and he's not the only one. I'm not going to pick on him because, but he makes a mistake, and that lets I think Michael Keane had gone galloping forward, and they're in and they score, and we just the belief is then just sucked out of us, and it looks like there's no chance for us to get back into the game. Was a bit. We are on our uppers in terms of midfielders. We were on Sunday anyway, so with no Allen, Fabian Delph obviously not fit, Tom Davies not fit, etc. So we have to basically play on a very on the front foot, but that leaves us enormously vulnerable at the back. And that was what it proved. So trying to play that high line, Michael Keane was captain for the day, gets himself sent off. Again, it's another one, and it costs us. Although I would argue, actually, his performances of late, and I've mentioned it many a time on this podcast, have just not been up to standard at all. Haven't been for quite a while. And we ultimately end up having to play 25 minutes with 10 men when we're a goal down, and they know. There's no belief in you. Come on, lads, we can get back into this. I mean, casting in mind back 15 or so years, and Ian Turner, in one of his performances, I think on his debut, I think he was against Blackburn, and got sent off after 10 minutes. John Ruddy came on when his one and only first team appearance in the league, and we managed to win the game. We played for 80 minutes with 10 men, and we won the game by a goal to nil. I think James Beattie scored, if memory serves me correctly, or maybe Tim Cahill. But anyway, the thing is, the point is there was belief there. There was, okay, we can still win this. We're not out the game at all. It was still 0-0 that particular game, but as soon as we're 2-1 down, the lack of belief in this group of players, and to a degree it's understandable, but the lack of resilience and the lack of fortitude and the lack of leaders, and I've said it multiple times over the last couple of years I've been doing this, the lack of leadership is a huge problem. Can you imagine? Roy Keane is a great example of that. When Manchester United were in the semi-finals of the Champions League in 1999, he got himself booked at the Dele Alpi against Juventus. United were well behind. It was second leg of the game, and he ran the show and won them the game. And knowing full well that he wasn't playing in the final. A Tony Adams, that type of cat would just be constantly saying, "No, we're never going to give up." There was fight and belief and fire, and that is sorely lacking. And how do you engender that into players that seemingly don't have it, or a lot of them? I have to say, I think the exception to that at the minute are two people, Richarlison and Anthony Gordon. And we went to Burnley, conceded an absolutely awful first goal yet again. I mean, all of the goals we conceded the minute are the result of just defensive ineptitude or individual mistakes. It's like watching under-9 stuff at times. Dreadful, easy cross, back post, unmarked, no strength in the marking, ran off the back of, I don't even know who it was, I haven't brought myself to watch the highlights because I was there, but nodded it straight, and it's in. And we got lucky by getting back into it. Both the penalties are penalties, but we got ourselves back into it quickly because I thought, hang on, this is an opportunity to show strength, but we have shown none of it. And we get back in it. Richarlison takes that leadership role. Personally, I would make him captain at this point. I really would. Because he stood out like a beacon last night in terms of his quality. And Everton played all the quality football. It's absolutely a game that Burnley had no right to win. But we have gifted it to them. We have given the game to them by our own ineptitude. So then we get ourselves ahead. And I'm sat with the Burnley fans, with my cousin and his girlfriend and my uncle. And sat there going, right, we've got to hold on till half time. We did. We came out second half. We didn't start terribly well, but we got into the game and we had chance after chance after chance, great opportunities. Richarlison had Roberts, their right back, Connor Roberts, on toast, so much that they had to take him off and bring on Matt Lowton, who immediately booted Richarlison in the air and got booked. But he had him on toast. Anthony Gordon the same. And Ben Godfrey and I thought Jared Branthwaite actually played quite well. From a central defensive perspective, we actually were all right with ball coming. But any time a ball gets into a wide area, I've got no confidence in Vitaly Mykolenko at all. And jury's very much out. His first touch is lousy. John Joe Kenny, was just John Joe Kenny, unfortunately. And you look at it and go, hang on, we were, Seamus Coleman is well past his best, but we had the French international left back playing for us a matter of 3 months ago. Now, I don't think for a second that had the change of management occurred that his performance levels would have picked up. Yeah, Luca Dean was better as an attacking force, and there was a lot of chances we got down the flanks where we overloaded down both flanks, and the final ball from both of those individuals was appalling. And, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a cardboard cutout of the player that we've seen for the last 2 seasons prior to this one. Yes, he's had injuries, and I'm not even going to begin to delve into the tar pit of the GQ cover and what have you. I think it's irrelevant. It's ephemera. It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is his performances on the pitch, and I don't think it's a trade-off thinking he's more bothered about anything like that. I just don't think it's that at all. I just think he's nowhere near fit. Personally, I would have hooked him after an hour or so, 70 minutes, because Richarlison was the one that was leading the charge from the front, and put him up front and brought on Dele Alli, because the number of times when we did get balls into the box, they weren't getting to Calvert-Lewin, wasn't challenging the 2 centre halves, Tarkowski and Collins, but we. Therefore, but there were lots of headers out which would have dropped invitingly on the edge of the 18-yard box. And Frank Lampard in his pomp would have gobbled them up. Even now, I'd fancy him to score a couple. But Dele Alli would have actually made a difference at that point in the game to me, because he could have actually, his finishing's good, he could have made that difference. He didn't come on. Anthony Gordon's race was run after 70 minutes. He brought Demarai Gray on. Demarai Gray was better on last night than he was on Sunday. I thought he was very poor. Showed again another one with a lack of fight and lack of fire. But we, John Joe Kenny is culpable for the second goal. He commits, it's done. Charlie Taylor runs around the back of him, squares it back, and Jay Rodriguez pops it in the back of the net. And then the third goal is just a calamity of errors. Never really a comedy of errors, because there's nothing funny about it. It's so base. Where Jordan Pickford slices the ball. I mean, the conditions were horrible. I will absolutely concede. You wouldn't may have been able to see this on the television, but at the end where the Everton fans were sat, at that sort of corner where the TV gantry, because I was sat near the press box, the corner flag was horizontal. You may have seen it. I think it was Gray was going to take a corner, the ball was blown out of it. So it was horrible conditions, swirling around. The rain was awful. Typical evening in East Lancashire, to be quite honest with you. But Pickford slices it in, okay, but he cleared it. He needs to then ball comes in, hits Ben Godfrey, it skews back, nobody's alert, and the body language, the moment that ball in the back of the net, you knew we weren't going to get back into the game. There was still 5 minutes plus 4 minutes of injury time, so we had a good 10 minutes to try and get in. We had chance after we had the game was absolutely there for us. And the fact of it, and I said at half-time when we were 2-1 up, to my uncle, I said to him, next goal's crucial. If Everton had got it, we'd have won the game. We didn't, and we wilted. And that is the fundamental problem with the team. There's no belief. Abdoulaye Doucouré was absolutely powder puff against West Ham on Sunday. Last night, he was dreadful for 20 minutes. They were passing the ball around like a hot potato, much as they did against Wolves, where just nobody wanted the ball. He is an experienced footballer, and I am picking on him here because I expect more from him because we know how good he can be. And when he is the fulcrum of that midfield at the minute, and he has to go above and beyond with players around him. That's not his fault, but he is the linchpin of that midfield. He has to step it up, and he did a bit last night. He was better and he was more energetic. I thought Alex Iwobi actually played quite well last night. His passing was better, and I have a tendency. I know he's a bit of a bête noire of this podcast, but I felt a bit sorry for him on Sunday, and you could see with his reaction when he gave the ball away that led to the second goal for West Ham that he does care and he's upset, and there's genuine passion there, and that did come through last night. His passing, his play, was infinitely better. His performances over the last 4 or 5 games have been a massive improvement and more consistent. So it's not in attacking areas that we've got the issues, it's defensively. And we have, at the moment, what is effectively a championship back four, particularly the 2 fullbacks. Nathan Patterson isn't. I'm thinking, where is he? He's out for the rest of the season. We haven't seen him. And Mikalenko, I'm thinking, God, the days of us having Leighton Baines or, he may come good in the end, Mikalenko. I don't want to bag him out because, he's come into a difficult situation. The manager that signed him has gone a week after he signed him. I have some sympathies. There is mitigation here, but he tackles. He is active, but his first touch at times is non-existent. His delivery from wide areas is poor. Yes, he gets into the box and gets the penalty, but you're just thinking, where on earth are we going to find any semblance of solidity or confidence in the back four? It is like watching Roberto Martinez's team again, where you think every time the ball comes into the box, the opposition are going to score. My heart was in my mouth every time. Having kittens, I couldn't relax. Any time the ball came in, they're going to score here. And that, when you are obviously then... Burnley have scored once in 4 matches, and we can see 2 of them in the second half. Sean Dyche has come out, and to his credit, I suppose, has come out and said, well, we just played on Everton's fragilities, basically. We knew that we haven't won an away game since August. We haven't taken a point away from them since Chelsea before Christmas in the league, and that is the problem. Frank Lampard in his post-match looks like a defeated man. I'm just thinking he wonders what on earth, how he finds that there's sort of no belief in him almost. There's such an air of resignation, and the supporters last night as well. I thought there were things to applaud in the game, to encourage, but the players didn't seem to go anywhere near the fans last night, which I just thought was bizarre and wrong, given that they travelled and they've been vociferous and vocal in the way supporters always. And it was commented to me, we haven't brought a full contingent. So we always do. But the question is now, that was a game that, as I said, we could not afford to lose because of the gap now that Burnley have closed, and we've lost it. They are now absolutely have the momentum, and we have somehow, I'm thinking at 2-1 and we're comfortable and we're looking like we're going to score a third. I'm getting carried away, thinking, right, Man United on Saturday, their Juventus United team turn up, we can beat them. Leicester at home again, they're playing a bit better than they have been, but they're beatable at home. If we somehow manage to pick up 7 points, 9 points out of those 3 matches, it takes us away, releases the pressure. And it can get a whomping at Liverpool and a beaten home by Chelsea, but we've got ourselves out of that situation. We are right now in it. And I read a piece on The Athletic this morning which used the term "a fish rots on the head." Well, I coined that one about 2 weeks ago on this podcast. And this is chickens, rotten chickens at that, coming home to roost. Rotten eggs coming home to roost, I suppose, in a way, of 6 years of complete and utter mismanagement, and we've escaped from now due to individual quality at certain times, but gradually, bit by bit, all that solidity that we had was a hallmark of ours for such a long time under the David Moyes era. has just been frittered away, has just gone. As the individuals from that era, you know, the Phil Jagielkas, the Leighton Baines, the Seamus Coleman, you know, on the wane sort of thing. As those players have gone, so has any semblance of fight or steel or resilience or belief. And it's just, you know, it's so easy for us to be got at. Do I think we're going to go down? I honestly woke up this morning feeling, I think we are. We absolutely are. I think we're in dire trouble now. And I talked to a Bolton fan yesterday before I went to Burnley, and he said, looking at your fixtures, he said, I heard somebody say that you might only get 3 points between now and the end of the season. I'm thinking, yeah, on the basis of last night, I think where they will get those 3 points from remains to be seen. We've somehow got to get a result away from home, probably at Watford. We've got to get points at home. So every game now is like a cup final. And how do we play in our last cup final or cup quarter final? We capitulated after 15 minutes and we'd had the start. So we have to get a result from somewhere. Can we get that on Saturday against Manchester United? I think that very much depends on the atmosphere at Goodison on Saturday lunchtime. If the fans, if we turn up with an air of resignation and our belief finally having gone, and if you read social media in the last 12 to 14 hours as I come to record this, then yes, it has gone. I will always believe, you know, until it's mathematically impossible to stay up, then you have to keep believing. And we're not actually in the relegation zone. That is a crucial thing, you know. But if the fans can get behind them and we can get a positive start on Saturday, we have the quality to take on teams like Manchester United. We have that, and they might actually play to our advantage that we're playing against one of the top six, you know, rather than taking up a team that's fighting and scrapping. So who knows? That is absolutely crucial, and we have to get behind them on Saturday, because if we just retreat into our shells now, like some of the players have, then we're doomed. There's no other question, nothing else for it. We are doomed. That sounds, you know, two dads army, but that's the top and bottom of it. Come the summer, wherever situation we're in, there has to be a total root and branch review, and I've, you know, called for this for a while now, of the entire operation of the club, and this has to be fundamentally structure now put in that is in place, has to be allowed to operate within the parameters of which these people have been appointed. That's not today's problem, you know, and particularly in terms of the recruitment, that this is the summer's problem. But if we don't stay up, we're going to have an awful recruiting problem, because we're going to lose Pickford, we'll lose Calvert-Lewin, we'll lose Richarlison, Decore probably, we'll lose a huge bulk of players, possibly Ben Godfrey as well. We'll lose all of those players that we desperately need to keep, the quality ones. And we're in a mess. There's no other way, you know. We can somehow get Yerry Mina back, but he's not going to be back for Saturday. Hopefully for Leicester, then it can make a difference. But this is possibly, and I said to my cousin last night, I thought these days of Everton fighting relegation had truly gone. I spent most of my teens watching Everton fight relegation, and I genuinely thought, as I hit my 40s, those days were well and truly figments of a dim and distant past. But the spectre has raised itself in quite stark terms, and it could be the one season where it raised itself in such stark terms that we actually drop through the trapdoor. That is where we are. Unfortunately, I can't be more positive than that, which is a bit of a shame, but always good to get your thoughts on this podcast at NMTVPod on Twitter, nmtvpod@gmail.com. Thanks for sticking around for this expanded edition to cover the two games off. This has been a top content production, and I shall return with episode 95, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'll have to get it done on Saturday after the game, after I return home from Goodison. Hopefully with 3 points in the bag. But until next time, let's keep the faith. We're not doomed just yet. Come on, you Blues.